Good morning. What am I doing? What am I doing that's causing the echo? But I'm hearing an echo. Oh, Auntie Sylvia. You need to mute. So good morning to everybody out there. Glad to have you on our call this morning. It is a Wednesday, and Wednesday is what we call our marketing day. So what does that mean? That means every Wednesday we normally have these calls whose focus is on either marketing our products or services or marketing the services of those that are interested in being part of what we do. And we here are what you see there. We're called the 730 Mentorship Academy, and our work is to provide a free platform where individuals such as those that are joining us by way of these platforms can be able to access these services that we run. I'm not alone. I work with three other very powerful women, and we have various programs that we offer every single day of the week here. And if you look very carefully under this title, you will see a banner that's scrolling. On the banner are numbers and contacts and details that you can use to reach myself on this particular day. So today, Wednesday, is our open market day, and so we focus on open market marketing, and it's available not just for me but even for those that may be interested. So now if you look at the scroll, it has just changed, and you will see that we do offer advertising via scrolls, background banners, icons, special messages, short video adverts, speaker mentions, or even sessions which can be booked directly on this platform. Again, there's a phone number there that you can use to call right away, and you will be shared the rates that you can use in order to do so. So anybody that's interested in advertising, you can use our platform to do so. Now, one of the other things that's going to be happening today is I will be sharing on the subject you see, and if you are interested in that, the scroll underneath has my other contact numbers that you can use to reach out for further information on how to become part of the coaching programs available. So remember, these are free, but you can access paid for programs, which are obviously far more detailed. Now, I don't come alone, like I've said before. I work with these other wonderful ladies, and we have different days. So Mondays, I do it with Unleashing Your Destiny, and then on Tuesdays, you have Aunt Sylvia, who actually comes through and does Mindset Change program. And then on Wednesday, you have this open market that you're now part of. And on the open market, we have different, trainings and presentations depending on what exactly is going on. Then on Thursday, we have our dear sister, Dr. Nelly Kangwa, with her program, Prosperity for Your Soul. Very, very powerful, a combination of the spiritual and the physical as well as mental in bringing about a balance in life and success. And then on Friday, we have Dr. Jacqueline Mulundika with health tips. And so today being a Wednesday, my work this morning is to take you through a topic that I'm extremely passionate about. And this topic is known as Detractors to Destiny. Now, Detractors to Destiny is a very, very interesting idea. And how did that come about? I have a course called Unleashing Your Destiny. Now, in Unleashing Your Destiny, the idea in that course is helping individuals like you and I to go through self-discovery. Now we have, if you look at the different programs I just mentioned, Mindset Change program, Prosperity for Your Soul, which is under the Project Life Design or PLD, we have different kinds of courses around self-discovery. So I just bring a unique angle to that self-discovery using a module that I developed over the last couple of years, and it has worked very, very well for a lot of individuals in helping them to come to a place where they understand who they are and grow. And so in that particular course or module, we have in that particular course, we have 5 key lessons in there. And the first lesson is literally to know your position. And that is so critical when it comes to your life and your progress, because you cannot be able to even begin a journey going anywhere without first having a clear understanding of where you are. So we have a very, very deep introspective search into self. So that deals with who are you? Why are you here? All those key questions. But even more importantly, also a study of your own personal place in life at this particular juncture. And Sylvia talks about the 6 key areas. I speak about the 8 key areas. So in my course, we talk about the 8 arenas of life. And so once you have an understanding of where you stand in each one of these arenas, then comes the second aspect, which is now to determine your destination. So once you know where you are, then using that as a leverage point, you determine where you're going. So that's where you go again into a deep look into yourself and ask yourself a question: where am I going? Now, once you understand where you're going, then comes the next point, which is to make a plan. Make a plan, have a map. Map is make a plan. So you put a plan together, a strategy around how you're going to move from where you are to where you want to go. That's extremely important. Then the 4th stage is be mad, take action. So mad is make a difference. So you literally go out there and start taking serious action in order to progress. Okay, so that's extremely important as far as progress is concerned. If you do not make a difference or take action, you will go nowhere. So at the end of the day, after all the planning, after all the strategizing, at the end of the day, you must put you must put tire to tarmac, and that cannot be avoided. And now once that's done, then obviously we get to the stage where you monitor your progress. So you sit and look at key landmarks, key benchmarks in your life, and ask yourself, am I progressing? Am I static? Or am I retrogressing? So these are the 5 stages. We go through a very, very deep lesson around that. Now, in that journey are what I call detractors. Now, the word detractor, and by the way, before I go further, Job Lazarus Okello has just reminded me about the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please, I request that you go right now. Let's just pause right now. Go like the video, and more importantly, subscribe to the channel. So a lot of times I realize that if you don't remind people, they intend to, but it kind of slips their mind. So right now, as you're watching, just hit the subscribe button, and you usually have 2 options. You have an option for some information or all notifications. So you could click the bell for the all notifications, and then you will be notified every time we post a video. Thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. Remember, the more people we reach, the more these messages can go out there and make a difference. So now let's go back to what we were speaking about. So today I'm looking at detractors to destiny. So what are detractors? A detractor is a repellent. That's what a detractor is. It's a repellent. And what do repellents do? They repel, obviously. And so by repelling, they bring about a situation where you are not able to see what it is that you want to see in your life. You find that even though there is something that you want to go after, this detractor, this repellent comes and draws you away from where you're supposed to be going. Now, this is a really serious issue, and a lot of people find themselves in that situation. So have you ever wondered what it is that keeps most people from ever pursuing their dreams? Staying the course, that is being consistent and going on to achieve them. If you answered that, they got distracted, then you are very correct. In short, most people get distracted. Now, for the majority of these distractions, those things that stand in the way of their dreams. Okay, so the rather funny but sad part about these distractions is that they are genuinely powerful and even justifiable. Okay, but that does not change the fact that they do detract us. In other words, they repel us from this goal. And unless one is very deliberate about fighting them, hence why I always encourage that you do not only set goals and pursue them relentlessly, they cannot see them come to pass. Okay, so in my coaching series, Unleashing Your Destiny, which I was just telling you about, I mentioned 3 of the most powerful detractors I know, namely living in the past, the shiny detour, and the sunk cost fallacy. And so over the next, 3 sessions, which will probably be around Wednesday, because they're focused on Wednesday. So maybe in another 3 weeks, I'll do another one in another 3 weeks, just like that. I will be looking at and driving points home on these three detractors. And by the way, one of the aims and goals of each one of these morning lessons will be not just to tell you about the detractor, but to also offer a tangible solution that you can apply right away, and it can actually help you to overcome. Now, detraction can be described as the opposite of an attraction. It is something bad about someone or something. If you love peace and quiet and you're thinking about buying a house, a location on a major road would be a detraction. Okay, so detraction comes from the word detract, which means to diminish or to speak badly of someone or something. All right, so for the purpose of this training today, we are focusing on experiences that come into the lives of every one of us and become a detractor, and that very thing that causes your attention and focus to move from a positive, resolved position to one that is true of your mission and vision, thus and then takes you away from that and instead takes you to a place where you are at a non-progressive status and no longer useful to your success and where you're aiming to go. Now, the first one, we're going to be looking at the first of these three, which is the living in the past. So there are two aspects to this detractor, namely a positive and a negative one. But both end up becoming a factor that impedes the progress of many. And living in the past could also be called time traveling, in that an event in the past becomes a point that impedes the progress of one in their present, such that they cannot go beyond where they were set by that event in the past. Those of you that are PLD here, you know that one of the most popular teachings in NLP is this statement that says, it is not the events that matter. So in other words, it's not the events that occur to you that matter, but the meaning that you assign to those events. And for a lot of people, they give or assign very bad meanings to events. And that's why an event in the past can be such a powerful detractor that stops people dead in their tracks from making any kind of progress. Now, some examples of negative events that can include but are not limited to failed relationships, okay? Bad marriages, being a victim of crime, including robbery, or even violence like sexual harassment, including rape, molestation, and violation, violent abuse, okay? Relationships that are violent, okay? And that could be from between spouses. That could also be from parents or even guardians. And this type of abuse includes all kinds of physical or mental abuse. You find that also failed businesses or ventures, and also severe bullying or mockery in younger years, especially adolescents. So all these I've just named are examples of what we call negative events in the past, which actually go on to affect profoundly many people's present life. It's very unfortunate, but it's a very common thing. I know this for a fact because we've seen a lot of people suffer from this, and it's not just myself. It's not just yourself. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of people who find themselves failing to move on in life because they have gone through these terrible events in their past, and those events have messed them up in a massive way, and they failed to move on. So that's one of them. Now, such events leave an indelible mental scar that affects many and becomes a mental barrier when opportunities present themselves with potential for progress. But in a model similar to the negative experience, many have found themselves unable to have a fulfilling relationship. Okay, they have been unable to exploit careers or business opportunities simply because that opportunity triggers bad memories. So it's what in the psychological traps we call learned helplessness. Okay, so it triggers these bad memories and therefore leads into a defensive state. All right, and that then becomes a block that affects the chances for exploiting the opportunity at hand. So a very, very, very unfortunate situation. And there are so many people that are in this kind of scenario. Now, as you can tell, this is a major detractor and can be a block to breakthrough and success for many. And the unfortunate part is that for many people, some of these things are even operating at subconscious level and become an automatic reaction and repellent that even the individual suffering this reflex does not realize that they do. Okay, so this further sabotages all chances for progress. So you can imagine, even when opportunities come to meet a really good person, you meet a really lovely lady, you meet a really lovely man, you don't realize that subconsciously you are repelling them because of that experience you had. So you're acting out without even realizing that's what you're doing. So we call it self-sabotage. So a lot of people who self-sabotage do so because of their negative experiences from the past. Okay, so a very, very unfortunate situation for most people, and it ends up affecting them. Now, there's another twist to this. There's another twist to this which I am going to share, and that is what we call positive events that degenerate into living in the past. I mean, I bet many people didn't realize that you can actually have a negative event that leads into a similar end result. And the reason, again, you have such a situation is because for these individuals, they have not managed to separate that event from their own progress. So before I proceed further, let me have a word from one of our products. This is a book that I wrote recently, and you can learn more about it and actually purchase it as well. So let's look at that, and when we come back. Alrighty, so we continue with where we were. I'm Rev Walter, back here to continue with the next part, which we're looking at positive events that degenerate into the whole living in the past challenge. Okay, now these can include, but are not limited to, high past status in business, okay, career or politics, great past experiences in life, whether personal or corporate, great achievements in sports, academia, or arts and entertainment. And all these, it's amazing, actually, ladies and gentlemen, how such events can actually become an absolute positive block in your past. So how does that work? Many times such experiences leave people in a great high from which a number do not come down from. That's interesting. Okay, so what does that mean? These mountaintop experiences, unfortunately, tend to last only for a season and soon pass. And once that happens, there is the coming back down to earth process, which unfortunately many do not manage too well and remain in some state of grand delusion. Now, still trying to live and operate on these past glories and achievements, yet everyone has moved on and does not care less about these things or achievements or former status. So you have people who get stuck in their past. So maybe they were a CEO, maybe they were an ambassador, maybe they were some high achieved person. They did something profoundly powerful. And so their life puts them at that status. But then it's a season. There's a role and a season. And once that role and season's done, you have to move on. You have to transition into whatever the new stage is. But unfortunately for most people, they don't manage that transition well. So they get stuck in this bubble where they still think they're the CEO or whatever it is, or chairperson or whatever. And yet in reality, everybody's moved on. They're just not there anymore. And it's you that's still stuck in your own bubble. So that's a really, really, really bad one. And for many people, it really challenges them in terms of being able to transition and transition well. So I've always said that unfortunately for such persons, they do not have the mental disposition to make the transition well and end up living a life like one who has been shell-shocked and is in a daze of denial and delusion. So in a state of denial and delusion, they still try so hard to sustain as much as they can be sustained from their past, yet the present demands their attention, and a need to come down to earth becomes prevalent. And in such cases, these people fail to see and exploit all current opportunities or make transitions because they feel they feel it to be beneath them. Okay, and they tend to be very bothered by what people will think of them if they embrace such opportunities. So maybe they were a CEO, used to a certain life, and now they've transitioned to the farm out there, and just the idea of working in the farm, they don't like that. They did it because somebody did it, but they just don't have it. So people like that. Okay, and unfortunately many end up going into depression, and in worst cases they end up dying. So they fail to embrace their new reality because they're still trapped in their old success. Does that sound familiar? So that's another very, very powerful one. Now I notice that there is a very good question here from Austin Longwani. He says, what is your advice in a situation where your spouse happens to be the major detractor? Now that question is very difficult to understand because a detractor is a repellent. That's what it is. So is your wife stopping you from achieving something? Is she, your wife or husband, is your spouse a block? Whenever you find a situation like that where it's your spouse being like that, there is need to sit down and have the powerful strategic session to bring your visions together. Many times, what tends to happen in these families is you have division. And you have division because you have division, meaning two visions. And I've always said that wherever there's two visions, that is a hydra. It is a monster. It's an aberration. It's a freak of nature. You can't have a body with two heads because one of those heads will have to submit to the other. Otherwise, you'll never do anything. And many times that's the challenge with a number of couples because they find that they have not sat together to come up with a convoluted, agreed, synchronized plan. Now, I speak that because I know what happens when you're not in agreement with your spouse. You will fail to progress. It doesn't matter. Many times you may be surprised if we talked to your spouse, she would probably say that, oh, it's him who is the detractor. It's him who is not going where we are supposed to go. So it's very important to sit down as a couple and come up with a joint agreed strategy so that you're all in the same team, working together, going in the same direction. That makes a very, very big difference. Anyway, so let me continue. So what are the solutions? How do you get out of the situation? So what follows are ways to overcome both scenarios and hopefully stay focused on the present and its great opportunities available for exploit. So let's begin with the negative scenario, okay? So when it comes to a negative scenario, it is very important that they will need, you will need to undergo serious reprogramming of the minds to eliminate the negative trauma that sets in. Where it's severe, professional help should be sought and undertaken to identify and treat all psychosis that arises as a result of such past trauma, and seeking help for many is the most effective way to overcome the state of mind. So in other words, literal help in the hospital, whatever, get an expert to deal with that particular situation. So where it's mild as to be underlying but serious enough to be an impediment, these need NLP, neuro linguistic programming, that's something we offer. Okay, that will then help them reprogram, or what we call reframe, all things that affect them seriously. In the process, they will also need to undergo or work on reprogramming their subconscious mind, which controls 95% of their waking life. And this can be done very well using 3 key methods. We do this very, very well. Subliminal programming, so that we change the frame. Then number 2, meditative repetition, so that we now relearn. And then high impact life events, which bring an epiphany. And many times what I've realized is that that's the one that tends to start first, because some people are watching this video, and this video may be a high impact event. This may be what you need to get you to go, oh my God, what's going on there? In other words, for some people watching this video, this will be your revelation. So now if that revelation comes, because remember, there is no way you're going to be able to do anything until first you have a revelation. So because all transformation cannot happen until first there's realization. And all realization cannot happen until there's first revelation. And revelation comes on the back of the high impact life event. Something happens in your life and it's so impactful, it causes an epiphany. An epiphany is what we call a revelation, revealing light. Okay, light is revealed, revelation. Right, so that's how we deal with the negative events. Now, there's a question here. They're waiting for Celestial Chronicles Part 2, which will come on Friday. So Friday, 8:15. Just take note of that. Now, positive events. For such, they will need serious subconscious reprogramming that deals with all the living in the past glories mindset. So, you know, there are people, like I say, who are stuck in that living in the past glory. So they need serious subconscious reprogramming. In other words, they need to be made to understand that life is always lived in the now, and that it is a gift to be alive, and hence why it's called the present. So we're in the ever-present now. Please remember that. And this present is what must be unwrapped as it occurs, so that it leads to more exciting presents, which you and I call tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow is an illusion, but today is the reality. And what we do today, what we do now, has impact on the quality of our tomorrow, which will be an ongoing present until we depart from this world. So you can't run from that. And until you get to a place where, as an individual, you realize that everything about your life is focused and tied on how you deal with your now. Until you get to that stage, you will have very little progress. I like my sister Anne here. She posts a very appropriate scripture. He says, according to Philippians, this is Paul. He says, brothers and sisters, I do not consider myself yet to have taken hold of it, but one thing I do, forgetting that which is behind, I strain toward what is ahead. In fact, the Bible says, I press on. That's the version I like. I press on towards the higher calling, the upward call that's in Christ. So there's this idea of pressing on into the future. Forget about now. Now's great, but the past is absolutely gone. There's nothing you can do about the past. And if you can focus on that, you will learn so much about progressing and going somewhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call living in the past. And I want you to, you know, as we pretty much wrap up this session this morning, I want you to ask yourself a really serious question. Do you think you have been caught in this particular detractor? Are you living in the past? Have you found yourself at a place where, because of events of your past, you're not progressing? Have you found yourself at a place where there's been opportunities, but they somehow have fallen apart? Somehow you've failed to take advantage of them. Have you found yourself in such situations? My answer is probably because you are a victim of living in the past. And I tell you, the only way you're going to progress in life is when you learn to stop being caught in your past. If you have to learn to take advantage of your present. Now, I'm going to agree that for a lot of people, this is not easy. That's why we have mentors. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have counselors. That's why we even have pastors in the case of the church, spiritual leaders, because for many of us, we are in traps that we can't even realize we're in the first place. When I did my series on the 8 psychological traps, the first trap is called the Truman Trap. And the Truman Show trap is the one where you don't even realize that you're in a trap. See how bad that is? So for many people, that then keeps them trapped there for good. And they can't progress, they can't move, they can't go anywhere. And so this particular trap is very, very bad. And for such people, they are probably not even watching this program today. You see how scary that is? But if you happen to have been one of those that's watched and then now you've heard something that's really made you curious, I challenge you to go back to my YouTube videos. You'll find them there. Facebook tends to be a bit difficult, but if you go on events, if you're on Facebook, go on events, go and search under my events. You're going to see 8 psychological traps that you may be caught in. That's a series, Bound and Gagged. So look for Bound and Gagged, and then look for the first part. There are 3 parts. So go as far back as you can to see the first one, and then mark that and watch it. Because when you click on it, you see the live video, you can watch that. And then watch the second, and then watch the third. The stuff in there is mind-blowing. It will really free some of you up from these traps, because I assure you, all of us found ourselves caught in those traps. So you want to make sure you deal with that. And who knows, some of those traps for some of you may be the detractors stopping you from progressing. And then for those of you who prefer YouTube, go to my YouTube and then go under the live videos, because I've got live videos and we've got posted videos. So go under live and you'll find those videos as well, and you can watch them. And I believe they're going to make a very big difference for you in terms of your progress in life. Now, next week, we'll be looking at the second one, which is really powerful, the shiny detour. You'll be amazed how many people have been detracted by the shiny detour. And then on the third time, we'll be looking at the last one, which is the sunk cost fallacy. Now, let me end this by once again reminding you, for those of you that really want to take advantage, like you've listened to me and you're like, oh my God, this stuff is deep, this stuff is hitting home, yada, yada, yada. And you want to do something about this, then you are more than welcome. You are more than welcome to actually go to my numbers down there, the one scrolling, and you can post and say, Rev, I just came from watching this thing. Oh my God, this thing. Oh, this is me. This is me. So you can do that, and we'll be happy to connect. There are fees, of course. There are different charges we have, but let's talk, and then let me show you what's available, and you do something about changing your life. One thing I've learned is that if you're going to procrastinate, one of the major problems for many people is they procrastinate to death. I have people that told me they'll start the course in January. This is now August. They haven't started. It's one issue after another. And that's the funny thing about life. Whenever you want to make a major decision that's going to be life-changing, you will find that there's one issue after another. You will never, ever get to start. And that's why, in the words of Efachava, which means just throw yourself in there and let everything figure itself out. Just die a little, look aside, take that money, invest in yourself, and it'll make a huge difference. So I want to just close with that, and thank you all for being part of our call this morning. I'll end with this one question, and now not proceed beyond it. It's we've got to end with this. It's Perfect Yanro who asked, what's the difference between delay and waiting on God? I've seen many turn down opportunities that look small because they say they are waiting on God for better opportunities. For me, the truth of the matter is, waiting on God, the word wait is where people get it wrong. That word wait is like a waiter. What do waiters do? They stand by in service for whatever's going on at the tables in a restaurant. So waiters are waiting. I'm waiting on your table. That means anytime anything is needed, you lift your hand, the waiter will come through. You see, that's being in service. When you want to see opportunities from God, you don't sit waiting at home. That's a wrong mistranslation of that word. It should say in service. So waiting on the Lord, serving on the Lord. God picked people that were serving. If you study your Bible, you realize that every one of the disciples was occupied. They were not idle. So this passage, my brother, sister, perfect, I don't know if that's a man or a woman, the passage does not relate to an idle person. It relates to a serving person. They were busy in their areas of calling, and Jesus went, some were tax collectors, some were fishermen. God went to every one of these people and just picked them and said, come and follow me, come and follow me. So they were all occupied. When Jesus exited the world, he left one very profound statement. I gotta close with this. He left a very profound instruction. He said, occupy until I come. Do business until I come. And that's the words of that great master to his servants. Okay? He told them, occupy, do business, and then I will come. And when I come, I better find you doing business. Remember the one guy who said, I won't do anything. I'll just bury the money, wait for my master, and give it back to him. What happens? So you find that that person ended up being reprimanded. And let me end with this. Not only did they get reprimanded, what happened? They were thrown into outer darkness. They were called what's the word? The word is cast away this unprofitable servant. I find that so profound. They were called unprofitable because they didn't do anything, and their talent was taken and given to the one with the 10. So the one with the 10 ended up with an 11th talent, which came from the one that didn't do anything. So all of you that are listening to this morning, be very careful. And I like that this question was asked. It helps you to understand that God works with occupied people, not idle people. So on that note, thank you so much. Tomorrow, Dr. Nelly is on the call. You know her, powerful stuff. She will be teaching on prosperity for your soul. I don't know whether it will be herself or one of her people, but we know it will be awesome. So do not miss that. And from yourselves, thank you for being part of this. Those who want, get in touch on the details written underneath, and I will be able to work with you further. God bless.